Hello and welcome to Assembly Update. I'm Audrey Pitcher here today with Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz from the 81st Assembly District. Assemblyman, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, it's wonderful to be here.
Now we are getting down to the end of session now. We're in the low double digits for session days. And you've had a few bills on the floor coming up. I believe you just passed two yesterday. Would you like to talk a bit about those?
Yes, and I have a lot of bills that we need to pass. So the two bills that we passed yesterday, one was passed actually without debate, and it allows pharmacists to administer the Mpox vaccine at their pharmacies, which is really very good. Mpox is a very bad thing to catch, and by allowing pharmacists to administer the vaccine, it just means more people will get vaccinated. And I'm all about vaccines. You know, we had to fight hard a few years ago to make sure that kids got vaccinated at school, and that legislation, which I passed, eliminating non-medical exemptions for school vaccine requirements, has been hugely successful. The vaccination rates have risen, and the terrible measles outbreak that we've had in this country this year, it's been the worst in a quarter century. Coincidentally, RFK Jr. is the head of Health and Human Services. Some people have died, including two kids, and virtually everybody, if not everybody, who has caught the measles, and it's in various states, but a lot of it's been in Texas, and we know what goes on in Texas, have been among people who are not vaccinated, or they don't know, they don't have any records to show that they are vaccinated, which probably means they're not vaccinated. It's really pretty simple. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to get the measles. If you're not vaccinated, you could get the measles, measles being the most communicative, easily spread disease in the world. But the Mpox thing certainly is another tool that we have to try to prevent disease from spreading. And there was no debate because even the Republicans did not oppose that legislation. So I'm very pleased about that. And then I debated a bill yesterday, which they don't like certain bills. The minority, they don't like bills that are, as a general rule, that are pro-consumer, pro-tenant, pro-environment, pro-people, which is interesting because they actually have as many people in their districts as any of us have in our districts. So the bill we passed yesterday dealt with insurance claims, theft claims, and essentially what the bill said was that the insurance companies can't ask for intrusive personal information unless they can show that it's likely that there's been some kind of fraud. And of course, none of us want to see fraud. So it says you can't ask somebody if they file an insurance claim for their, some of their personal financial information, voter registration information, and just a list of things that are personal and really have nothing to do with a claim. And it seems to me insurance companies would often ask for that stuff to slow things down, to try to make it more difficult for somebody to go through after they file a claim. And if there are indications of fraud, then of course we want to see that exposed. But ordinarily, most claims are just not fraudulent. And so that bill passed along party lines because, as usual, the minority votes in the interests of, in this case, insurance companies. And I'm not even sure it's in their interest, because I think having a claim where they don't spend extra time looking for stuff that's not relevant, that costs money. So I happen to think that this bill is actually in the interest of the insurance company, but most importantly, it's in the interest of people who have insurance. And people who have one type of insurance or another often feel that they put a lot of money into having these policies, and yet when it comes time to collect on a claim, then the insurance company just automatically fights them on it all the time, it seems. So this bill passed, and I'm hoping it passes the Senate. We'll see what they do. And then today we're going to be debating another one of my bills that deals with people who are seeking employment or seeking a promotion and the like, where the employer can't use information from credit reports to make a determination as to whether somebody should get a promotion, should be hired, should be fired for that matter, and with appropriate exceptions, in terms of dealing like with law enforcement and others. And the reason is that number one, credit reports often have incorrect information in it, and secondly, is it really fair to penalize somebody because their credit did suffer because they have huge student loans, for example, which they've been having trouble paying off, or they've incurred enormous bills relating to health, doctors, hospitals, stuff like that. I mean, there are so many Americans, millions of Americans, who've gone into significant debt because of health coverage costs, and to compound that by making a decision on whether or not somebody can be hired or fired or promoted is outrageous. So we'll be debating that bill today, and I expect that it'll pass. And I expect it'll pass because the bills like that usually go along party lines for the most part, where the majority party, Democrats, support legislation that, after all, help our constituents, and unfortunately the Republicans seem to be more interested in helping not their constituents, but business interests.
And what has been the rationale for people, for employers looking at credit scores when making hiring or promotion decisions?
Well, I think many people feel that somebody with a bad credit rating is a bad person, or is not going to be a good employee, or just doesn't deserve a promotion. The fact is, studies have shown that there's no correlation between having a bad credit rating and whether somebody is a good employee, especially when many, maybe most of the people with bad credit ratings have just fallen on hard times because they couldn't pay the cost of a prolonged hospitalization, for example, or they've been having trouble paying off these ridiculously large student loans that people have to suffer with. And so given the fact that there is no correlation between being in debt and whether or not you can serve and do a good job, it makes total sense to pass this. And I would hope maybe some of the Republicans would think that, you know what, I got plenty of people like that in my district. People who owe money are just not in Democratic districts. It's just not a partisan issue as far as I'm concerned.
Well, those are all definitely critical aspects of legislation. Are there any other bills that you're really looking forward to passing by the end of this session?
Well, I have a slew of great bills. I've talked about some of them before, but I'll mention again, I'm pushing hard on the bill to create a New York State Office of the Utility Consumer Advocate, so that somebody is representing utility consumers, which includes pretty much everybody unless you use candle power, and they live in Democratic districts and Republican districts. Right now there's nobody to represent the interests of utility consumers, certainly not the Public Service Commission, and they need an advocate, and at least 40 plus other states have this, and such an office has saved countless billions of dollars for utility consumers in terms of the advocacy the office does, representing utility consumers in court cases, maybe even initiating court cases, testifying at hearings, and so on. So it's very important that we do this in New York. We've passed this bill before. Governor Cuomo and then Governor Hochul have vetoed the bill. I'm hoping this year, considering the enormous increases in utility rates, that Governor Hochul will reconsider her past opposition to the bill, and that we can get that done. I also have a bill, this is interesting, I think, that would allow localities around the state to hold hearings on parking tickets by way of, I guess, Zoom, hold the hearings remotely. We do many other things in the court system on Zoom, or whatever company that they would use. And parking tickets seems to me to be a no-brainer to do this way. Many people have trouble contesting tickets like parking tickets in person just because of the location of the office, because of the time that's involved. In fact, you can't even park a car near where you contest parking tickets in the Bronx, for example, and so you're likely to get a parking ticket if you go there. But by being able to do it remotely, that would enable more people to do what they want to do, which is to contest a ticket if they think they're in the right. And it's particularly important for people who may have a disability, who can't get around easily, or even a parent with a baby carriage. It's not always easy to go places, and if that could be done remotely, that would be a great thing. I also am pushing hard on a bill dealing with SCREE, which is Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemptions. Right now, SCREE, which is one of the greatest programs that we have, allows certain people, namely people who are age 62 plus, who spend more than a third of their income on rent and whose income does not exceed $50,000, they can get their rent frozen. But what happens is sometimes people have an increase in their income, but just like once. Maybe they win $10,000 in the lottery. Maybe they took some money out of their 401k and it raised their income. But for various reasons, people have incomes which can go up, but then will go back down the following year. And yet, if they're kicked, they can be kicked off SCREE if they exceed $50,000, but they can't get back on at the same level of rent freeze as they had, and I want to rectify that. So this bill would not be terribly costly, and it would enable people who truly deserve to have their rents refrozen at the previous level to be able to do that. And let's see if we get that bill through this year. And the reason I introduced the bill is because I had a few constituents who were in that situation. So many of the bills I do are based on things that happen to my constituents. We want to make sure things get better or bad things don't happen again. So that's one of the top priorities as well. So, and I got lots of other stuff, but I can't talk about it now because I think our time is about to run out.
Indeed it is. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's always lovely to have you, and we look forward to talking with you about those other bills soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.